Think about the last NASCAR finish that genuinely blew your mind last lap. Side by side. Contact. Photo finish clip goes everywhere now. Answer one honest question would that moment have even been possible without three specific rules? Rules NASCAR. Added deliberately in the last 20 years to make sure moments exactly like that one can keep happening. Because if the answer is no, and I'm going to prove it is, then what you're calling great racing is something else entirely. Not here to say NASCAR is fake. I'm here to say something more uncomfortable than that first, the obvious objection. Because it's fair racing has always had chaos, mechanical failures, random incidents that sport true, and not every NASCAR race ends in last lap mayhem. Some finishes are clean, but chaos happens in NASCAR week after week, consistently enough. Concentrated in the same 5 laps that it stops feeling random and starts looking exactly like design. That's the argument. Hold that thought. Here is the precise distinction I'm drawing. There is a difference between a sport that accepts randomness as unavoidable and a sport that has engineered conditions that amplify randomness at the most commercially valuable moment of every event. The system doesn't pick winners, it picks moments. Here's how they built it. Layer by layer. Layer 1. Over time in almost every major motorsport, if the final lap goes under caution, the result stands. Restarts it. Up to twice. Until they get a green flag finish. That rule doesn't improve competition. It reduces the impact of competition that already happened. A driver who built a lead over 490 miles through tire management, fuel strategy, and track position gets reset, now equal to a pack of desperate drivers with nothing to lose. 1. Lap to go. Name one other sport that can erase a lead built over an entire event with one random incident in the final minute. Talladega 2018. Kurt Busch controlled. Strategic lead in hand. 3 cars crash in turn 1, nobody's fault. Almirola drafts past on the restart and wins. Kurt Busch drove the superior race for 499 miles. The rule made that irrelevant in the final half-mile. NASCAR didn't make racing better. They made it harder. For the best driver to prove he was better. Layer 2. Stage racing. Since 2017, NASCAR resets the competitive order multiple times mid-race points mid-event. Pit strategy forced at stage breaks. Dominant drivers still win stages. Season-long consistency still exists. I'm not claiming otherwise, but stage racing breaks the continuity of a dominant performance. It prevents a superior driver from building uninterrupted advantage that closes a race before the final lap. It limits how far ahead excellence can get. Before the next mandatory reset, that's not competitive balance. It's a ceiling on excellence. Time to keep the final lap contested, regardless of what came before it. Layer 3 is where the psychology gets genuinely dark. Layer 3 and this one isn't about rules directly. It's about what rules do to human decision-making under pressure. Win, and you're in. The gap between winning and second is the difference between playoffs and going home from pure game theory that makes aggressive, even reckless contact the rational decision. The math rewards the gamble. Every single race in NASCAR didn't just change the rulebook. They changed the incentive structure so completely that the objectively correct driving decision inside their system is more dangerous than it would be under traditional points racing. They engineered the conditions for aggression, then filmed it, clipped it, called it drama. Watkins Glen 2024. Van Gisbergen leading on the final lap. Buescher to the inside. Contact. Van Gisbergen goes wide and can't recover. Buescher wins. Legal move accepted. Celebrated, but you cannot separate that cultural tolerance for contact from the incentive system that made contact the mathematically smart play in that moment. If chaos decides the winner, skill only decides who survives long enough to benefit from it. Here's where I stop criticizing NASCAR and start being honest about something harder. Fans asked for this. Ratings. Data from the early 2000s is brutal. Wire-to-wire dominant wins got switched off by the millions. Sponsors pulled. The sport was in genuine financial crisis. People don't actually want to watch the best driver win. They want to feel something unpredictable in real time. They want the edge-of-seat moment at lap 267 of 267, not lap 50. NASCAR understood that before almost any other sport, and they built the system the audience was actually demanding. They just never said that out loud. To be fair, it worked in ways beyond entertainment. It made the sport easier to watch, easier to follow, and more accessible to casual fans who'd never survived a 500-mile processional. The emotion in those stands is real. The excitement is real. I'm not taking that from anyone. I just want you to watch it knowing what it actually is. You can love what NASCAR became. Just stop calling it the same thing it used to be. Here is the insight nobody else has said. And it's the one that makes every layer click, and NASCAR has made racing so unpredictable that the unpredictability itself is now completely predictable. Think about that trio. Unpredictability creates surprise. Engineered unpredictability creates expectation when fans tune in already expecting chaos in the final 5 laps. That's not tension, that's a schedule. And the broadcast already knows which clip they're posting before the white flag waves. No other motorsport stacks as many of these mechanisms simultaneously. Formula One has safety cars. IndyCar has restarts. But no series compounds overtime rules, stage resets, playoff desperation, and normalized contact, all concentrated at the same moment. Every single week, that concentration is the fingerprint. Natural chaos doesn't have a schedule. Engineered chaos does, from 2012 to 2024. Watkins Glen has produced 2 of the most cinematic final lap finishes in modern NASCAR history. Storylines so perfectly packaged the broadcast could frame them in real time. Not scripted, but produced by a system reliable enough that perfect stories emerge on Kuth's best driver used to control the race. Now the system controls how the race ends. The strongest argument against everything I've said: every sport evolves its rules to improve the product. The NFL changed over time. F1 added DRs. That's governance, not corruption. Fair. Here's the precise line that separates them. The shot clock stopped teams killing the game. DRS enabled overtaking the aerodynamics. We're preventing. Both rules removed obstacles to competition. NASCAR's rules move in the opposite direction. They reduce the impact of results to the sport. It's already produced because those results weren't entertaining enough. It's not purely sports governance anymore. That's competition shaped by entertainment. Priorities governance asks, how do we make competition fairer? Content strategy asks, how do we make the ending better? SCAR stopped asking the first question. That's the shift, my final position. Every word chosen deliberately in SCR does not fake outcomes. The drivers are real, the danger is real. The talent is completely real. But the competition framework surrounding those drivers has been deliberately structured to amplify randomness. Concentrate chaos at the most commercially valuable moment of every race, and reward whoever is most willing to exploit that chaos, regardless of who actually drove the superior race for the previous 495 miles. That is not fraud, but it is competition shaped by entertainment priorities and a sport that consistently prioritizes spectacle over competitive integrity. Is no longer primarily a sport. It is a product that uses sport as its raw material. The best driver used to control the race. Now the system controls how the race ends. And most fans have been watching long enough that they forgot there was ever a difference one challenge. That's all. Name one last lap finish from the last 10 years. Just one. Not enabled by a restart. It's an overtime rule, a late caution, or deliberate contact. One finish where the leader simply drove better. No rules helped. No chaos required. Put it in the comments. I'll be there if you can't find one. Then the system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And you've been calling it something else this whole time. If this changed how you watch NASCAR, subscribe. Next week we look at how NASCAR's broadcast deal controls which stories you're even allowed to see. That one is going to bother a very different group of people.